Hey, what's up you guys? It's your boy Joseph. So when it comes to personal finance, every decision that you make reinforces a financial habit. Many things that we do, such as like buying lunch every day, can result in a substantial amount of money per week. And while bad habits are hard to break, especially if they're something that we've been doing for a long period of time, the same can be applied to good habits. So in this video, we're going to talk about the 9 money-making habits that you should start in your 20s. Many of these habits require little to no investment or extensive prior knowledge and provides both direct and indirect benefits to making money. Also, while this is not by any means some set it and forget it operation, because these habits still require some effort on your end, this also means that for some of these habits you can save money starting as early as today, while others do so over a period of time. And that's exactly the whole premise of long-term investments. Invest now and reap the rewards later. In fact, if you were to follow through with this video and you were only able to save $25 a week, but use that to invest into an index fund spread over 40 years, you could turn that into $250,000 thanks to compounding interest. And while that's just a small example, I can almost guarantee you that you can save money in both the short term and long term with these habits. So with that being said, let's get into the video. So the first habit you should pick up is weight training. There are numerous studies done that have shown many benefits in bone density, osteoarthritis, postural issues, and just your overall health. I know that once you reach a certain age, your bones and muscles start having all sorts of problems with your body, and this can actually help to alleviate that in the future. But I think for the majority of the time before we even reach that stage, the benefits to our health, posture, and confidence levels is something that you can take advantage of from the beginning. I know that going to the gym can be terrifying and can be a huge commitment for those starting out. And for that, I recommend trying to go to the gym with a friend and using some sort of a free trial pass to get a feel for the environment. I know that some gyms only offer a day, while some can be as much as 2 weeks, but that can help with paying for a membership and later finding out that you don't like that particular facility. When you're first starting out, I don't think you need to do anything specific in terms of exercises. I think that the fact that you're going to the gym is a simple but huge step to making sure it's a habit, and everything after that is a bonus. However, if you want to level up from that, I recommend looking into starting strength or strong lifts 5x5. They're pretty much like a template where you follow the main lifts and you add or remove exercises that you feel that works best for you. And I'm pretty biased in this because I'm a powerlifter, but also I think that these programs give you a solid foundation on key compound lifts and is a good starting point for beginners. And now this sort of leads to another great habit to get into, and that is doing cardio. Or something simple as walking a mile a few times a week. And I think it's it's a good way to cool down from your main routine and to take it kind of easy. And just like with weight training, they synergize and complement each other. In terms of benefits, cardio helps with cardiovascular training, improving your endurance, and also improving the cognitive functions of your brain. And in my opinion, I find that cardio is essential because we tend to sit for long periods of the day. Especially if you have an office job, you may sit for hours at a time, then you sit some more when commuting from and to your work, and you might sit back on the couch to watch TV, and that in total puts an immense strain on our lower backs. So in combination to weight training, just walking a mile a few times a week resets any lower back pain you can get, and I find them both essential as these can help with other dysfunctional problems with our bodies. It can save you from having to pay for physical therapy to try and correct these issues later in life. Now, the next habit we're going to talk about is meal prepping. So having a nutritious diet is beneficial for your body, and it can prevent you from overeating, which can lead to obesity and other health ailments like high blood pressure or diabetes, which can be harder on the body as you grow older. This also helps with being able to know exactly what foods you're putting into your body and saves the trouble of having to buy takeout or delivery because you don't have any food in the house. And I find that if you just dedicate one day to meal prepping for the week, it's a lot easier and convenient than having to cook every single day. I know a lot of people recommend crock pots because it's a pretty much throw ingredients and you let it cook thing. But I don't actually use one because I only eat one big meal per day and I'm very particular about how I like my foods cooked. So what I like to do is actually prep the ingredients beforehand for the week, and when I need to cook, I just throw everything into a cast iron skillet, which goes into the oven, and either eat it all at once or split it before and after my gym sessions. And this whole process takes about 30 to 40 minutes, and that's mostly just me waiting. But for the most part, if you prep your meals, it's actually way quicker than that because you just take out a Tupperware container, heat it up for a few minutes, and you're done. But regardless of whether you prep your meals or do what I do, it can help you in the long run if you don't have a lot of time on your hands during the work days. Moving on, we're going to take a look at the fourth habit, which is to track your macros or your macronutrients, which comprise of your protein, carbs, and fats. I think this can benefit a lot of people that don't already do this, especially if they're trying to lose weight or gain weight. But if that's not the case, then it's still beneficial to know if you have like a balanced portfolio in your diet. So if you're snacking in between meals or you drink a lot of soda, it can give you a better idea of how much extra calories you could be taking in. The one biggest misconception that I hear a lot is when people associate losing weight or getting ripped is by going to the gym. And I mean, it helps, but I don't think it's the main contributor for that goal. If I were to attribute a percentage value, weightlifting and cardio is probably 20%, sleep is 30%, and your diet is 50%. Now, as for tracking your macros, I highly recommend you buy a cheap food scale and then use it in combination to an app like MyFitnessPal. So a lot of foods have nutrition labels listed in servings per grams or ounces, and instead of using measuring cups or counting individual units, it's a lot easier and accurate to use a scale. As for the tracking app, there are other existing apps and it doesn't have to be MyFitnessPal. I just have prior experience using it with minor hiccups, and it tends to have a large active user base with existing food entries already in place. So for the most part, you can scan the barcode of a food item or you can just search for it and simply add it into your log for the day. Overall, it kind of makes dieting so much easier, and it helps to keep you accountable with consistent logging, seeing how many total calories you ate, and also to see the progress that you make on a weekly basis. So moving on, let's take a look at number 5, which is to read every day. And it doesn't have to be a book. I mean, for me, I hate reading books because they're so extra. Like the amount of effort of having to carry another thing outside of my essentials and have to hold it open while trying to read their tiny font is enough to discourage me from reading. So instead, what I like to do is to use Reddit on my phone and read through posts on certain subreddits and what's popular, because it allows me to be current with what's going on in the world, but also feeds me information on things I've never heard about. And from these things, I get to understand other perspectives and create hypothetical scenarios in my head, and it's a great way for me to explore and learn. Other times, I use the Kindle app to read books that come of interest, and I tend to read those like when I'm doing something mindless like cardio. But either way, I think that reading is very important because it helps to like work your brain by learning and understanding unknown topics or concepts, and like even if you're not in school anymore, you should never stop learning. I also know that like audiobooks are a thing. It works for some people, but for me, I never really got into it because I couldn't really pay attention, and it was just meant as like some sort of background noise for me. But if it works for you, then that's also a good option to take into consideration as well. So the next habit we're going to take a look at is to wake up early. So we all know that sleeping 8 hours a day is important, but I also think that waking up super early is just as important. Having enough sleep helps our energy levels, our mood, and aids in a bunch of functions of the body. But by waking up early, you have more time for yourself. You can get a head start on tasks or chores you need to do for the week, use it to read, exercise, or to work on a side gig before your main day starts. In a way, I think it allows you to be more productive and makes the most out of each day, which can stack up over time. As for getting into this habit, I know that if you have a traditional full-time job, that habit of waking up early can already be instilled into your routine, but if not, you can always start by making small baby steps. If you're waking up at 9 a.m., try to set your alarm to 8:45 or 8:30 and try to make it stick and become a consistent habit. When it becomes a habit, continue to work your way down and repeat the process. Also, if you have like a hard time falling asleep, I mean, I do, I recommend getting a white noise machine and eliminating electronic usage 30 to 45 minutes before you go to sleep. So the next habit to get into is to have some sort of an agenda, whether it be a physical notebook or an app that does the same thing. For me, I tend to have a hyperactive brain, so I think of a lot of things, and having a note-taking app helps to keep track of the things I want to learn about, or things like I want to look into because depending on how important it is, I can forget it really easily. Outside of that, I find that it helps in coordinating your own schedule for things that you have to do throughout the week and also for the things you need to buy when you're making grocery trips. And I like to use check marks for these tests because it kind of makes it like some sort of mini game where you eventually reach 100%, but it's just a way for me to have a clear indicator for when I finish the important things for the day. I think by implementing a bit of time management helps to be efficient with your time and prevents instances where you forget to do something important, especially when you have a lot of things going on during the week. And what's great is that it doesn't have to be set in stone, and when you do miss things, you can always adjust your schedule to fit everything, and just be able to know what is going on helps you to be aware of what you can and can't do. Moving on, you also want to create a budget. It's important to know how much money is coming in from your job, your side gigs, and how much you spend on expenses. That way you can tell if you're able to pay more than what you can afford, but also to know what your biggest expenses are. So if you're planning on buying something new or getting a subscription to something, this helps with comparing whether you can get it now or later after removing other expenses. And what's great about this is that after creating a budget, you can have a better idea of how much you can use for buying the things you want, how much you need to have saved for an emergency fund, and also how much you can contribute to investments. In terms of an emergency fund, I recommend having anywhere from 6 to 12 months of expenses in a savings account. So if you happen to get laid off and have no sort of income coming in, this can help you when you transition into another job. So to start out, you can create a budget using free apps such as Mint or Pocket Guard. And these apps have pretty good user-friendly interfaces and can help guide beginners with creating a budget using presets for different spending allocations, and can provide you with more data on things you can do to improve them. Now, the last habit you should go into is to invest your spare change. Now, obviously, this is easier when you have a budget already created, but this can also apply for when you have leftover change if you pay in cash, when you get annual bonuses, or get birthday money. A good habit to get into is putting that money into investing, because they offer far greater benefits from compounding interest rather than sitting in a checking account that gets little to no interest. So if your company offers a 401k plan, an HSA, or a Roth IRA, then put it there or use one of the many brokerage platforms like Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab to invest into index funds. For the most part, this process can be automated to deposit every week or bi-weekly, as long as you have money in the account that you're pulling from, and it's one of the simplest passive ways to make money. Of course, it's important to do your own research, because some funds have different fees compared to others, minimum investment amounts, and there may be like vested periods where you have to hold and invest over a minimum period to get any match bonuses. Ideally though, you want to have all of those to diversify your investment portfolio, but a good starting plan is to just invest the minimum into your employer's 401k plan to take advantage of like any employer matches that they provide, and then look into a Roth IRA. From here, it depends on both how much you make annually and if you think you'll be making more now or when you retire due to tax benefits. And there you guys have it, the 9 money-making habits you need to start in your 20s. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you thought this video was helpful, drop a like down below and consider subscribing to see more videos in the future. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.